The sun beat down on the cockpit, reflecting off the F-22 Raptor's sleek grey fuselage. The heat was almost palpable, creating a shimmering mirage effect on the horizon. The cockpit was a blend of cutting-edge technology and raw power, a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of air superiority. Captain Ben "Hawkeye" Miller squinted at his radar display. The green lines and dots, a familiar yet always tense sight. Each blip on the screen could mean a myriad of things, but today one particular blip caught his attention. It was moving fast, too fast to be a commercial aircraft or a friendly. A blip, unidentified, approaching fast. His training kicked in and his mind raced through the possibilities. Was it an enemy aircraft, a rogue drone, or something else entirely? The uncertainty gnawed at him, but he knew he had to stay focused. Adrenaline surged through him. This was it, the moment every fighter pilot trains for but hopes never comes. The fine line between life and death, between victory and defeat. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a reminder of the stakes at hand. His fingers danced across the controls, switching to a passive sensor mode. The cockpit lights dimmed slightly, and the hum of the engines seemed to grow louder. He needed to remain undetected for as long as possible, to gather as much information as he could before making his move. He had to get eyes on the target before they spotted him. The vast expanse of the sky was both his ally and his enemy. It offered concealment, but also hid threats. His eyes scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of the approaching aircraft. The F-22's stealth capabilities were his advantage, but for how long? The Raptor was designed to be a ghost in the sky, invisible to most radar systems. But he knew that the enemy was constantly evolving, developing new technologies to counteract his own. A shape emerged from the glare, resembling a predator stalking its prey. It moved with a grace and purpose that sent a chill down his spine. This was no ordinary aircraft. It was a hunter, and he was in its sights. It was a Sukhoi Su-57 Felon, a Russian fifth-generation fighter jet, as deadly as it was beautiful. The Felon was known for its agility, speed, and advanced weaponry. It was a formidable opponent, one that demanded respect and caution. Hawkeye inhaled sharply. This was no training exercise. This was the real deal. The weight of the situation pressed down on him, but he pushed it aside. There was no room for doubt or hesitation. Every decision, every action had to be precise and calculated. The sky was their battlefield, and only one would emerge victorious.
Bandit inbound bearing 090.
Hawkeye reported to AWACS, his voice calm despite the tension coiling in his gut. The Felon was closing in, its powerful engines leaving a white scar across the azure canvas. Hawkeye waited, his thumb hovering over the weapons system trigger. The order crackled through his headset.
Engage at will, Hawkeye.
He pushed the throttle forward, the Raptor roaring in response. The dogfight was on. Both jets twisted and turned, each pilot trying to outmaneuver the other. The sky became a blur of afterburners and vapor trails, a deadly ballet performed at supersonic speeds. Hawkeye pulled the Raptor into a tight turn, the G-forces pressing him hard against his seat. He caught a glimpse of the Felon, its distinctive profile silhouetted against the sun. The enemy pilot was good, Hawkeye had to give him that. But Hawkeye had trained his entire life for this moment. The F-22, with its superior stealth and maneuverability, gave Hawkeye an edge. This aircraft, often referred to as the pinnacle of modern aerial combat technology, was a marvel of engineering. Its design allowed it to evade radar detection, making it nearly invisible to enemy forces. The Raptor's agility in the air was unmatched, allowing it to perform complex maneuvers with ease. Pilots like Hawkeye trained rigorously to master these capabilities, knowing that their lives depended on their skill and the aircraft's performance. The Raptor was designed for speed and agility, a digital ghost in the sky. Its engines roared with power, propelling it to speeds that left other aircraft in its wake. The advanced avionics system provided the pilot with real-time data, ensuring that every decision made in the cockpit was informed and precise. This combination of speed, stealth, and technology made the F-22 a formidable opponent in any aerial engagement. But the Su-57 was no slouch. It boasted powerful engines and advanced avionics, making it a formidable opponent. The Felon, as it was known, was Russia's answer to the Raptor. Its design focused on achieving a balance between speed, stealth, and firepower. The engines of the Su-57 were capable of producing immense thrust, allowing it to reach impressive speeds and perform high-G maneuvers. The avionics suite was state-of-the-art, providing the pilot with a comprehensive view of the battlefield and the tools needed to engage the enemy effectively. Its maneuverability was impressive, almost matching the Raptor turn for turn. The Felon could execute tight turns and rapid climbs, making it a challenging target to lock onto. Pilots trained extensively to harness the full potential of the Su-57, pushing the aircraft to its limits in simulated combat scenarios. This training paid off in real-world engagements where the Felon proved to be a worthy adversary. Hawkeye knew he couldn't underestimate his enemy. The skies were a dangerous place and overconfidence could be fatal. He had studied the capabilities of the Su-57 and knew that the pilot he was facing was highly skilled. Every move had to be calculated, every decision made with precision. The stakes were high, and there was no room for error. The Felon pilot was skilled and determined, pushing his machine to its limits. He had trained for this moment, honing his skills in countless hours of flight time and simulations. The cockpit of the Su-57 was his domain, and he knew every inch of it. His determination was evident in the way he maneuvered the aircraft, always seeking an advantage, always looking for a way to outsmart his opponent.
This is not going to be easy, but I will not back down. Hawkeye's resolve was unshakable. He had faced many challenges in his career, and this was just another test of his skills and determination. The adrenaline coursed through his veins as he gripped the controls, ready to engage in a battle that would test the limits of both man and machine.
The battle in the sky raged on, each pilot pushing their aircraft to the edge of their capabilities. The roar of the engines, the rapid exchange of maneuvers, and the constant threat of enemy fire created a symphony of chaos. Both pilots knew that victory would not come easily. It was a test of skill, endurance, and willpower. The outcome of this aerial duel would be determined by who could outlast and outmaneuver the other, proving once and for all which aircraft reigned supreme in the skies. Missiles streaked through the air, narrowly missing their targets.
Flares blossomed like deadly flowers, momentarily blinding me with their brilliance.
The roar of jet engines filled the air as the two fighters closed in, their wings almost touching.
For a split second, our eyes met through the cockpits, a shared understanding of the deadly game we played.
Hawkeye pulled up sharply, narrowly avoiding a collision.
My heart hammered against my ribs, adrenaline pumping through my veins.
The dogfight continued, a whirlwind of metal and fire against the backdrop of the endless blue.
Then I made a mistake.
In a desperate attempt to gain an advantage, he overcommitted to a maneuver, leaving himself vulnerable for a split second.
It was all the opening I needed.
Hawkeye's fingers tightened on the trigger.
A missile leaped from its bay, a fiery spear aimed at the Felon's vulnerable underbelly.
He watched, a detached observer, as the missile found its mark.
A blinding flash filled the sky, followed by a plume of black smoke.
The Felon, mortally wounded, spiraled towards the earth.
Victory, it felt hollow. Hawkeye took a deep breath, the tension draining away, leaving him feeling cold and empty. He had survived. He had won. But the victory was not his alone. It belonged to the engineers who built the Raptor, the mechanics who kept it flying, and the AWACS controllers who guided him through the fight. He was just one man, a small part of a much larger machine. As he guided his battered Raptor back to base, Hawkeye couldn't shake the image of the falling Felon. He had never seen another human being die before, not like that. He knew the enemy pilot was just doing his job, defending his country, just as Hawkeye was. The thought offered little comfort. The debriefing was a blur. Hawkeye recounted the fight, his words flat and emotionless. He knew he had performed flawlessly, but the victory felt like ashes in his mouth. He had learned a valuable lesson that day, one that no training manual could teach. The true cost of war was not measured in planes lost or territory gained, but in the lives extinguished, both enemy and ally. Hawkeye climbed into his bunk, exhausted both physically and emotionally. The weight of the day's events pressed heavily on his shoulders. As he closed his eyes, he saw the face of the Felon pilot, his eyes filled with the same fear and determination that he himself felt. The memory was vivid, almost as if it had been etched into his mind. He knew there would be other missions, other dogfights, other lives lost. It was the nature of the beast. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of peace. A moment of silence for the fallen, both friend and foe. The sky, he knew, would always be a battlefield. The endless expanse above, where dreams and nightmares collided, was a place of both beauty and terror. Hawkeye thought about the camaraderie he shared with his fellow pilots. Each one of them was a brother or sister in arms, bound by the same unspoken code of honor and duty. They laughed together, fought together, and sometimes mourned together. The bond they shared was forged in the crucible of combat, unbreakable and eternal. He remembered the first time he took to the skies, the thrill of the takeoff, the rush of adrenaline as the ground fell away beneath him. The sky had always called to him, a siren song that he could never resist. But with that call came a price. The price of vigilance, of readiness, of knowing that each mission could be his last. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the airfield, Hawkeye allowed himself to dream. He dreamed of a world where the skies were clear, where the roar of engines was replaced by the gentle whisper of the wind, a world where pilots like him could hang up their helmets and live in peace. But until that day came, he knew his place was in the cockpit, defending the freedom he held dear. With a deep breath, he let the exhaustion take over, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, and new memories. Until next time, he whispered to himself, as sleep finally claimed him.